Oh my gosh, I forgot about the sound. Sorry about that. Okay, could just be me. No, it's not you. I forgot to turn on the sound. So, sorry about that. I think we're back on here. So anyway, there's several of you here. So say hi, and there's 10 of you so far. So say hi, and so I can meet all of you. I'm not. I don't just talk here by myself. Usually, I interact with all of you. So okay, yay! Entire Meyer. Hello, Caps, because I can't hear you. Hello, Entire Meyer. Oops, there it is. Okay. So we'll wait for everyone to get settled in here. It's a little bit different on. I'm a new fan. Hello, Mr. Matrix Lands. AMG. Okay, thank you for putting the sound on. Of course, I have to put the sound on, and I learned a lot. Thank you, Mr. Matrix Lands. Does that mean you're using Matrix on the Librem 5? Is that what that means? Or you use that Matrix thing? I haven't used that Matrix thing yet. So anyway, yeah, it's something you got to try someday to see, how that works. Hello, Kevin. Kevin Arnold Ashburner. Hello. Twist Mint. So Happy New Year, Twist Mint. Christmas is over now, so we'll say Happy New Year. And welcome all. Let's see how many have shown up so far. We got 16 of you so far. I haven't been broadcasting on Periscope, and I guess it's not necessarily. It's me staying out of the matrix. Okay. I haven't been broadcasting on any other platform. I haven't been broadcasting on Periscope, on Twitch. I'm not gonna do Twitch now, but it's probably not a permanent thing to not broadcast on Periscope. But I just haven't had time to go set this device up, this computer, to do a broadcast on Periscope because it's kind of a different setup. So I just didn't want to bother because I'm just too busy right now. And it's kind of less important to me. Somebody made a comment to me saying that they prefer Periscope because it's better for interaction, but I don't think so anymore. It's, when you got so many people here on YouTube as it is now, it's as many as Periscope, and the comments are flying pretty much as fast as Periscope is. So I don't know. I don't think it matters. I'm going to put the scarf over here. It's getting warm now. So hello everyone. Hello. So I put out a video today, and so far it's apparently quite popular. Hello, Fjord Lutzi. A little video lag as usual. Goodness, how do I fix that? Yeah, I'm gonna have to. Let me just do a test here so I can look at it later and find out what the delay is. So just forgive me here for doing this. Okay, let me do it again. I'm just going to use that later as a timer to see what kind of lag there is on the video. I don't understand why there's suddenly lag. Sir, can I ask the BlackBerry Bold I would like to buy from you? I already sold the single BlackBerry Bold that I had, so that's gone. I only have Nexus 5s. Periscope notifications quit working. No, Periscope notifications didn't quit working, Eagle Source. I don't do Periscope. I'm not doing Periscope. Happy New Year, Savvy. Hello, I'm in it. No, I'm not doing Periscope. So, of course, you're not going to get a Periscope notification because we're only doing YouTube. So, make sure you subscribe to the YouTube channel and click on the notification bell on YouTube so you get that notification. Okay? I would like... yes, I have some other products, and thank you for bringing that up. So, this is the Bracks Wi-Fi router. So, this new version... The new version of the router can handle wired. So you can actually attach a dongle, an Ethernet dongle in here. So you already have, there's already an Ethernet port in there. It's already an existing Ethernet port. And you plug that in, and instead of using Wi-Fi, because this has built-in Wi-Fi, you can put in an Ethernet dongle, like a gigabit Ethernet dongle. And if this is a Raspberry Pi 4, there's a port for USB 3. And you plug that in, and you can actually then route all of your traffic to the VPN. So you don't even need to use the Wi-Fi in here. If you have some higher speed Wi-Fi or something with a bigger range, you can actually plug it into here and turn an ordinary VPN, an ordinary Wi-Fi router like one of your old routers, and put that to use as a expanded VPN router. So that's only possible on the new version. So okay, this time it's video laggy. What does that mean? It's always video laggy. The video's behind. That's always been the way it was. Groove in the tube. Is there there's no monthly fee for this, but of course you need a VPN with it, which is annual. So VPN, my VPN is $89 a year. So, and you can put unlimited number of users on there. Are there any other competitive developer communities? Are there other competitive developer communities like Pine64? Are there other competitive developer communities like Pine64? Savvy, I'm not sure I understand what that means. Competitive developer communities, like the Pine64 uses the Linux community. So I don't know what a competitive community is. It's an open source community. No, your audio and video is good. Okay, thank you, Mr. Matrix Lions. So anyway, yeah, so this new version that I have, you can actually run a gigabit Ethernet adapter to this, and then this is already a gigabit port. And then you can route it through another Wi-Fi with, let's say, with AC, 802.11 AC, which this does not have. This is only ABGN. And then you can then route all of your traffic through the router with any number of Wi-Fis. Just put a switch, which expands the number of ports, and you can have as many devices as you want, as many routers, as many Wi-Fi routers as you want, and it will route it to the VPN through this one device. So this can be a very, very powerful alternative now. That was not possible before. So this just makes it easier. So that is where to buy from me, rob.bracks.me. So rob.bracks.me. Now, if you are not in the US, I would advise you just buy the software and get your own Raspberry Pi 4. So this is not, but the new model this is Raspberry Pi 3. But if you want to do this, you get a Raspberry Pi 4, then you just buy the software for me, which you can download if you want, or I'll ship you an SD card. You just plug it into the back, and you plug in your dongles, and that's it. And then you get, you can put everyone in your house on a VPN through the router, routing all of your traffic rather than individual devices. So that's a way to ensure a little bit of privacy, because the problem is, as I found out, I have so many devices in my house, and I'm always working on testing things, and I have multiple phones that I'm testing and so on, and oftentimes I'll make a mistake and I'll forget to put it on the VPN, and that really hurts. That's any moment that you do not use a VPN, especially if you're on a phone. Location data leaks out, and then somebody sells that, and then they can do what is called reverse IP lookup, where they can actually find out that your IP address is attached to a specific location. So I don't want that to ever leak. Sir, your face is not in camera focus. Oh, then this is in focus. Okay, I'll move this back. Mike, the camera seems to be focusing on the microphone. Okay, so I'll make sure that the microphone is not in the center of the screen. So yeah, that's I'll push it back here. Sorry about that. I wasn't paying attention to the broadcast. So, okay, let me just hold on. I'm trying to monitor the broad. Here we go. I just want to monitor it from a higher angle so I can see the comments without having to look down. Unfortunately, I can't. It's still pretty small. Okay. Okay, Mr. Matrix Lands. Okay. What does that mean? Is there is there network or device? Is there network or device? What does that mean? Anyway, so that's one of the options with this, and this is available now, and it's kind of a hot seller. So I'm certain you're one of the many that have bought, will want to buy it. So, will you be my grandpa? Well, it depends. How old are you? I'm not gonna be your grandpa if you're 50 years old. So, if you're 6, maybe. Okay, I see all the content well. Okay, thank you, Mr. Matrix. So, so anyway, so that's one of the products that I have, and this is definitely one of the most popular ones that I sell here, including the VPN. It's the other people's device of the lagging issues. Okay, Feroz, hello Feroz. I saw you on Bracks. Feroz, yes, I saw you on Bracks. I saw your comment on Bracks. So welcome. Barry getting freaky. What does that mean? Okay, what does that mean? That's the. Hold on, let me just. Oops, lost the screen, so I'm just trying to bring it up. Okay, there we go. We're back. Just bringing back the monitor. Okay, so a little side story. But well, before I get into that, I released a new video today, and if you have any questions about that, you can ask me. And I understand that my videos are kind of a mix. Some of my videos are very, very technical. Some videos are very, very specific. Some videos are more general about cybersecurity and privacy. So it's kind of a mix. And the reason is I'm trying to react to my audience, and different people want different things. And, I don't want to be too simplistic for some of you. Some of you want more detail. And with anything that I say here, even if it's very technical, the fact of the matter is there's always a takeaway for every level. If you're a beginner, there's always a takeaway for a beginner. If you're advanced, we can go as advanced as you want. I'll just balance it out so I don't make it so unpalatable for each group. So I'll make sure that everyone gets a chance to ask the right questions, no matter what the level is. You're all welcome. And yes, my older videos have been targeted more towards the beginners, but lately the number of people that are coming here that are more advanced have been increasing. So because I am advanced, so I can talk about as advanced as you want. So forgive me for the older people. I don't mean older in age, but older subscribers have been here a while. That the majority of the subscribers here now are fairly technically advanced. I'm going to say 70%. 70% are more advanced now. So that's why I have to kind of add more detail to the content. So today I released a video comparing the Librem 5 to the PinePhone as of today. And just to, this is your chance to ask about the video right now live, because yes, Advanced Nerd Channel, the Geek Channel, yeah. So for those of you who watch the video or want to know what the video is about, you can watch it if you want. I got some really good information about it I did a lot of research on it. It took a while because I some of the stuff that I had a sense of what might have been the reality about the PinePhone, which I actually didn't know. Some of it I actually had to research, and it's very hard because it's all like spread out, and you actually have to look at the specs and find out what's going on. And I managed to actually talk to the Pine 64 people themselves and get a deeper understanding of where they were going and what their thoughts were. And I am so happy to have been able to get information directly from the vendor, in this case Pine 64. I have no one from Purism has ever reached out to me, so I'm a noob at all this. Kudos of Borg. So did you get your PinePhone yet? No, the PinePhone is they should be shipping next week, I presume. So maybe allow like a couple of weeks for shipping to get to the US. So, give it a couple of weeks. So sometime in, a couple of weeks, maybe 2.5 weeks from now, I might get it. So we'll see. The software isn't ready yet, so there's no rush. If I get it any sooner, then I'm not going to be able to run anything on it anyway. So anyway, I managed to get some extra information from the manufacturer of the Pine 64 board, and I haven't talked to anyone from Purism. So Purism reached out to the Linux Gamer TLG, and because he's a big fan of Purism, and then also to Hackers Game was also a big fan of Purism. I tend not to be a fan of anyone. I mean, I like all these companies and I support them all, but I'm not, if somebody gave me a review copy of software, I can't tell you that, you'll get necessarily all positive comments, because, I'll tell you as it is, how it is. I'm more about reality. I'm not going to come here and lie to you and say, well, they're sponsored, they pay me, so I will tell you that this product is great. No, I don't do that. What is your take on security-oriented operating systems like OpenBSD? I don't know why you think OpenBSD is more security-oriented. I'm not sure why you say that. I'm not familiar with it, but someone in the comments of the PinePhone versus Librem 5 video mentioned. Why would you consider OpenBSD more secure than Unix, Tails, and Cubes? I'm not sure why you would say that. So, OpenBSD, FreeBSD is a different approach to something similar to Linux. So in case you just want a bit of background, back in the old days, back in my day, we used Windows and we used Unix. Okay, we used Windows and we used Unix, and then several companies were doing Unix operating systems, primarily mainframe companies, and then one major company pretty much became the main provider of Linux for IBM PCs, and that was SCO, Santa Cruz Operations. And SCO was bought by, they went through a couple of them, and then it eventually ended up with Oracle, and then basically Unix died. Okay, Unix died. We are watching you. We are watching you. That kind of like. You spoke to Purism. Well, good for you. You spoke to Purism. Nobody's ever spoken to me from Purism, so I welcome them to talk to me, so I get more facts. So I don't want to be theorizing about what is. I'd like to know what their thoughts are, because I support them just like anyone else, because I want them to succeed. But they tend to be more closed about the information compared to Pine 64. So if they tell me more, then I can certainly talk here more about it. But I'm more of a balanced reviewer. I am not going to sugarcoat whatever I talk about. Anyway, Unix died, and then nobody wants to pay a licensing thing to Oracle for Unix, and then a bunch of guys, Torvalds and whoever, said we're going to make something called Linux. So they made a new kernel. And then GNU GNU made an operating system and needed a kernel, so they said, okay, we'll use the Linux kernel, and that started the Linux thing in the 90s. This is just in the 90s. And then a bunch of people said, well, we're going to clone Unix, and we're going to call the Unix clone BSD. So that started out, with BSD being a Unix clone. So BSD was made to look more like an actual Unix machine. So everything is supposed to be binary compatible with Unix. So they're kind of similar, BSD versus Linux. And why is BSD special? BSD is a full operating system, and there's not that many variants of it like there are with Linux. In Linux, there's so many distros, and BSD, doesn't have that many varieties of it, and they also do not support that many hardware variations. So that kind of leaves them in the dust, to be honest. So it kind of leaves, so Linux is more, widely accepted with more devices, and there's more devices in the Linux kernel. So I'm not going to bother with that. It's not really that important. It's like I don't really spend my time doing reviews of distros and saying MX Linux is better than, Ubuntu is better than Mint is better than Manjaro and so on. They're all kind of the same to me. I mean, the differences are very slight, and it's not enough for me to go jump up and down about, because I don't really care. And maybe I'm a little bit different than many of you, but I don't really care about that. So yes, please hit the like. How to leave the Christmas lights on? Open question. How to leave the Christmas lights on? How to leave the Christmas light? You mean my Christmas light? This is not Christmas lights. Those are just lights. I'll probably have it there when Christmas is over. How many OSs are there? Hundreds. There's a lot of OSs, and some of them are, some of them are not that well known. They even have a what's the one for cars? There's a different version of Linux for the car. Is it QNX? So it's just Linux, but they made it for the cars, and then they have a different name for it. I can't recall if that's QNX, but maybe. So how many? What I miss? I do like Librem. They need to get their stuff together and make it fully usable. Now I got a comment on the video from his name is Martin Brom from Post Market OS. In case you don't know who Martin Brom is, he left a comment on the video. He's the one working on Post Market OS and testing post-market support for the PinePhone and for the Librem 5. So he actually is one of the few people that are physically holding. In fact, he has a video assembling a PinePhone. He assembled his own PinePhone. Martin Brom is one of the few that actually has hands-on both devices. And he left a comment in my video. Surprisingly, he said the CPU benchmark. He actually did this is post-video now. This is post-video information. But he said that the speed of a Librem 5 is the same as the speed of a PinePhone. In case you didn't get the video, on the video I said that the PinePhone is the same speed as a Raspberry Pi 3B Plus, which is this. This is the speed of a PinePhone. He said that in benchmarking test that the speed of the Librem 5 was the same as the PinePhone. Well, it's kind of shocking considering that you're paying $700 instead of $200. So, and the Librem 5 should have faster memory, more memory, faster GPU, and yet he benchmarked them to be the same. That's, there's some inefficiencies there then. So I think they still have some work to do to maximize the speed of a Librem 5. So that's not, it means there's more work. It's not going to be, I guess from the information we have, it's kind of a better deal at the moment to get a PinePhone and then see what happens later. But it seems like a better deal right now if from a functional point of view. So and they have a $2,000 Librem 5. So I don't know if I'd pay $2,000 for a Librem 5 that has the same speed as the PinePhone, with the only difference being it's made in the US. Our new updates for phones are creating more backdoors for spying. No, the backdoor's already in the phone. It doesn't need an update to do that. It's already built into the phone. So I have several videos on that. It's called Backdoors on Your Phone. So Automotive Grade Linux is an open source project hosted by the Linux Foundation. And what is the name of the automotive Linux? Is that QNX or is that a different name? I know it's like 3 letters, but I'm somehow from memory. I was watching some hacker video from long ago, and for some reason I remember something like QNX, and maybe I'm wrong, but something like that. So, bottom line, what's your favorite phone price? Phone price not being a factor. Well, I don't have a choice. There's only 2 Linux phones, so So at the moment, I'm gonna have to say I'm gonna get a Pine. Well, I got both anyway. I ordered both. So at the moment, I'm gonna say hold off. Maybe buy the Librem 5 later. Maybe invest in a PinePhone first, and then later on, when we know for sure that it's working, because otherwise you're gonna get a phone, it's not gonna work, and you just spend all of your money. So might as well wait until it's actually running, because it may be past summer before they get it running. I don't know. It doesn't seem to me like it's gonna run in March. So the 2000 isn't even entirely made in the US, is it? They say some parts came from India and Germany. Yeah, I'm sure. I mean, it's pretty hard to buy everything. I mean, goodness, I can't even buy. Let me tell you something. I built this alarm system here. This is a radar alarm system, okay? And a lot of electronics in here, so we made this and soldered this ourselves and made a circuit board. And it's a hand soldered circuit board. It's not a PCB. And when you buy resistors, capacitors, LEDs, even PCBs, project boards and cables and just about all the parts we needed for this. Well, where do you think you buy the parts? They're from China. You can't get them from the U.S. You can't get resistors and capacitors and basic stuff like that. You got to go. I buy them from Amazon, but apparently on Amazon they come from China. So not that I chose that. It's just what it is in reality. So it's just what it is. So anyway, since I mentioned Martin Braum to you, and you can see his comment on my video, and he has a small YouTube channel, and you can see his name on Postmarket OS, and Martin has a video on the PinePhone, and I think even the dev kit, the Librem 5 dev kit. And so he's going to be he's the one that tested what the mainline Linux support is for the PinePhone, and it looks to me like the PinePhone will be ready. There's not much more to do. They got the voice to work. This is some information that I learned. This is post video now. I'm going to tell you some information that was not in the video. This is something I learned after the video. I learned that the fastest operating system that works on a PinePhone is Loon OS. And Loon OS we haven't talked about. I heard that Loon OS is the fastest, and apparently it's in better shape than anyone ever realized. It's actually in very good shape. So the Pine 64 people have indicated to me that Loon OS may be a daily driver kind of OS for the phone. And in case you don't know what Loon OS is, Loon OS came from Firefox. So Loon OS is Loon OS, Palm OS, sorry. Firefox is Kai OS. Loon OS came from Palm OS. So Palm, of course, the Palm Pilot from the old days. So it's fairly developed, and even back then they had apps. So Loon OS, I presume, will have some apps already running that are made for a phone form factor. So apparently this is the fastest one with the fastest response on a phone. And graphic acceleration is working well on the PinePhone. It's very fast. So they think that if you're going to want speed, you may want to use Loon OS. They said that Post-Market OS, that's the other OS that's available on a PinePhone. It depends if you're running Plasma Mobile or Neon. And what's the other one that they were using there? KDE Neon or Plasma Mobile. And they were saying that Neon was a little bit slower. Plasma Mobile was fast, but it was buggy. And OpenMoko, that's way beyond when I was ever interested in phones. Do you order stuff from Alibaba? I have never ordered from Alibaba itself, but is that affiliated with Ali? What is the one? I bought some things from Ali something. So is that like a division of Alibaba? I don't know. Like I bought some like minor parts from there. Usually though I buy from Amazon. So anyway, hello Jason. Hello. I hope you had a wonderful Christmas as well. Happy New Year. So anyway, so it looks like Loon OS is looking good. They said Sailfish OS is also running very well on a PinePhone, which is good to hear. And the one that was first, Ubuntu Touch, they said had some stuttering, a little bit of stuttering on Ubuntu Touch. Now why is that? AliExpress, there you go. Ubuntu Touch uses a different compositor, so it uses Mir. So instead of the rest of them use whatever's available in mainline Linux, X Windows and Wayland, and they're just translating Mir into Wayland. So that's the one that does all the windowing, So maybe there's some slowness because of that. I'm not sure, but they said there's a bit of stuttering on Ubuntu Touch on a PinePhone. Obviously, I don't see that on a Nexus 5. It runs pretty well on a Nexus 5. China has the most favored nation status as a trading partner. All the while, the public is told they manipulate their money and are communists, but nevertheless buy U.S. Treasury bonds, aka the country's debt. Are you from China, Fac? So anyway, Loon OS. By the way, I'm for free trade. I don't like any tariffs on anything. Loon OS is a mobile operating system based on Linux kernel and currently developed by WebOS Ports community. Okay, so Loon OS, yes, was ported originally from Palm OS. So it was a fork from the Palm OS project. So it is in fact managed by the group called WebOS, which are just a few people. I don't know. Are there any more than 5 people contributing to Luna OS, and they release a new version like once a year. So it's not. In fact, there's more people who contribute to Ubuntu Touch. So, and which isn't saying much. There's not that many people contributing to Ubuntu Touch. So, and I already told you that Martin Braum is the one doing post-market OS, and I don't know who on KDE is working on Plasma Mobile. So there's just a few individuals doing this. I wish I had time because I could help them develop some of this. I just don't have time because I got to make these videos. I actually found some issues. I have some issues with, I believe I mentioned this before. I have some issues with Ubuntu Touch the way it's used. And for the moment, I am using a Lineage OS phone right now because the Ubuntu Touch, although it works, to make a call requires two hands. So if you're going to call, you can't use one hand. Well, I can make a call here with one hand. So it's possible to make a call with one hand on an Android AOSP, but it's impossible to do on Ubuntu Touch because it requires you to drag things from the bottom. You just can't do it. So there's some minor changes, really minor, like putting icons instead of dragging from the bottom, and just organizing the icons a little bit differently and maybe enlarging them, and instead of wasting the space with those big numbers. And it's so easy to fix. So I don't like complaining to Ubuntu Touch. I'd rather just submit a pull request and say, here, I'll make the change for you. But I don't have time because what I'm talking about is fairly minor, and you can get Ubuntu Touch functional with calling with one hand with just some simple changes. So hopefully they hear this, and I don't want to criticize, volunteers who are trying to do a good job with this, and I just want to help, and rather than complain about it, I'd rather just make a change and tell them. But I have not used Qt. I'm not a Qt user, so I have to learn how that works, and which takes a day or two to figure that out, and then you're gonna go look at the code and see how that works. So it's good to hear. It's just so easy to fix. Well, Chubby Fox, no one's complained about it for years, and people are saying Ubuntu Touch is perfect, and no one complains about something as basic as a user interface for making a call. So it's like, make me wonder, does anyone call using Ubuntu Touch? Hey, hello, Drac. So maybe that's the problem. Maybe they're not calling. Maybe they're doing texting. I don't know. It's just common sense to me that you wouldn't put so many difficulties. You can't even find your favorites list, and on Android and iOS, that's very handy. If you're calling using the phone, normally you call the same people all the time, your family. So you'd want a favorites list easily accessible. It is not easily accessible on Ubuntu Touch just because of the positioning of the icons. And it's not a big deal. These are not hard changes at all. Not hard, but I wish whoever made the interface can easily just pay attention to me and just say, I'll do it in a day. It probably doesn't take more than a day for whoever made it to fix it. But for me, I have to learn it, and I don't have time, and I'd like to help them and just do it, because it's not that big of a deal. And then Ubuntu Touch can be usable, and Ubuntu Touch has some other problems. And the problem with Ubuntu Touch is that I want to use Linux as Linux. I don't want a lockdown operating system. And one of the problems with Ubuntu Touch is it's locked down, kind of like Android. And I don't want anything locked down. I want to be able to install anything. But because of the way it's designed, that it uses something custom, called the custom graphics compositor, then you can't you got to use this thing that is not used anymore in mainline Linux. So I don't like that. So that's a big negative, because I don't want to develop something for Ubuntu Touch as a new app because it won't be compatible with other things you do in Linux. That's kind of like time consuming. It was $777 after taxes and whatnot. What is that? Am I currently using a WeCo Ride Android 9 for my cell? It was that's your phone, a Wico Ride Android 9. You can just buy a used. You could buy a used Nexus 5. You know, it's a nice phone, and you can buy a Nexus 5 for $50. So couldn't afford anything more. There's so many used phones, Drac. It's so easy to get used phones that are better. So instead of getting some weird one, you can get a Pixel, you can get a Nexus 5, you know, and so on. So there's always some option. So I mean, now that I'm buying used phones, you know, I have a lot of used phones. I bought this for $60. This is a OnePlus One. Okay, Drac. I paid $60 for this. Now I had to spend a lot of time installing on it, but at least it only cost $50. You need a ghost phone. So anyway, so based on the information I got from Pine64 themselves, the front runners on the OS side are actually, I thought it was Ubuntu Touch, and they've seen the other variations now, and Loon OS is looking good to them. So Loon OS is one of the better ones apparently. So I have not tried Loon OS. I can install Loon OS on a Nexus 5, and I want to see what that's all about. When I get time, I'll do it. So Drac, yeah, but it's not much more. You're talking, you know, $50 versus $37.77. Okay, it's used. There's no tax, so nothing more than $49. Yeah, $50, $1 more. Mama Goo. People say the price will go up on the PinePhone. No, I don't think so. Because they're going to make, you know, like 5,000 of them of the same configuration. So, I mean, 50K of them, 50,000 units. So they'll have the same configuration. And we are moving, so that's why I couldn't get a better phone. Yeah, but, you know, it's, like I said, $1 more. So, anyway, the other information I got from Pine64, I wish I got more information from Librem, from Purism, but Purism doesn't, you know, I don't have any contact with anyone at Purism, whereas the Pine64 people reached out to me. So, yeah, so I've talked to, you know, the owner of Pine64 and the community manager for Pine64. So I talk to them all the time, and I get, you know, I get a sense of where they're going, and they're keeping me up to date, and it really helps with the videos, because if I have a question, I get an answer. And I don't ask for favors. I don't say ship me your device faster, and I don't say anything, you know. Not $49.40. Okay, $10 more, Drac. So anyway, if the PinePhone is $150 now and the hardware will remain the same in later versions, why would it go up? Yes, Chubby Fox, I think it will likely stay at $150. Purism made contact with me. I will give you the information. Are you somebody important on YouTube, Mr. Matrix Lance? What? I mean, you know, I don't want to just reach out to people who don't know who I am. So I don't know if they watch my videos. I presume they do. They may not like my videos because, you know, I've been kind of, you know, neutral with all this, but I did a lot of videos that were very positive on the Librem 5. So, okay, so I did very, very many videos that apparently they didn't appreciate it because they didn't contact me. So, I own a record label. Okay, Mr. Matrix Lands, what does Purism have to do with a record label, though? Is that there's any connection with that? What is the connection with Purism and you? So anyway, so I talked to Pine 64. One of the questions I had, which was on the video, was because as it turns out, I mentioned this, that the PinePhone is only running at the speed of a Raspberry Pi 3B Plus. This is a single board computer. It's running at the same speed as this device. Okay, which is, a couple of year old Raspberry Pi, and that's the speed of the PinePhone, and so I was wondering, because the company Pine 64 also sells their own version of a Raspberry Pi like board. They call it the Rock 64 Pro. That's a new version they have. The Rock 64 Pro is 10 times faster than a Pi 3B Plus. 10 times faster. So we asked them if they're going to maybe use the Rock Pro 64 chip. It's called an RK3399. And are they going to use that on a future PinePhone? And the answer is no. The answer is no. So they don't want to do that. And I don't really know the reason why, but I saw some comments over the internet talking about the fact that maybe Rock Chips, the maker of that chip, may not continue that chip model. So they're probably thinking of something else. So apparently there's a new version of the chip that is being used on the PinePhone by Allwinner. So that's a Chinese company that makes the chip for the PinePhone. There's a new version of that, and hopefully, if that is by the same company, then maybe there's more compatibility. What they're talking about is possibly using the same chip across all of their devices, meaning use it for their SBCs, use it for the phones, use it for the laptops, and make everything faster. So, but that's probably a couple of years away. I don't imagine that's something they're going to do in the coming year. So, but they don't even want to talk about it. This is so much effort for them to come up with a phone. So, Carthaginian Love, I'm from New York and Black American, but you are 100% like my uncle with the information you give. We really dig you in Brooklyn. Well, there's Starlight there that's from Queens. Starlight just look up in the comments. Starlight is from Queens. So, thank you, Carthaginian Love. Will PinePhone be universally compatible on all carriers? You can see the specs on there. It should be compatible with a global set. There's a lot of frequencies on there, and certainly in the U.S. it's compatible with all of them. So it's compatible with all in the U.S. They've already specified it works with T-Mobile, it works with AT&T, and it works with Sprint, and works with all their resellers. However, the problem is that Verizon in the U.S. does not accept a bring your own phone kind of system. They have to have an approved phone list. So that is an issue with Verizon. So kind of separate. I also found out that they are in fact getting FCC approval for the PinePhone. We don't even have knowledge of FCC approval for the Librem 5, but for the PinePhone, the FCC approval is in the works. So they expect that will be done before they release in March. They don't think it will be ready like in the next month, but it will be ready. The FCC approval will be ready in the production version in March. So that's a prediction from the Pine 64 people. See, I know more about what Pine 64 is up to than with Purism. I don't know what Purism is up to. So Purism put the bulk of the people on the evergreen batch. Now it's alphabetical, A, B, C, D. They're currently on batch B. So I'm on batch E, evergreen. So the first batch which was called Aspen for A, was shipped only to employees. So it must only have been a small number of them. I don't know how many they had, 20. The Birch batch is not that many either. I don't know how many that is, 100? So they shipped that out to a few, mostly reviewers, and there's not that many that have that. That's Birch. The next one is called Chestnut, but it will be Evergreen. That is the main final production batch, and that's not slated for release until they don't start shipping it at the current promise until the end of March 31st. So they actually don't even ship till April. So when am I going to get that? May? So I don't know. I'm thinking that it's kind of frustrating because you make plans. I wanted to build some apps for the Librem 5 and so on, and it's so far away that I got to put it aside and I got to think about something else. That's why, at least in the short run, I have the PinePhone to work with, and I still have the order on the Librem 5. But as time goes by, you kind of like wonder if it's worth it, because basically the Librem 5 and the PinePhone really have very similar features. There's a separate baseband and separate Wi-Fi on the PinePhone, and it has the switches as well. Maybe not as convenient to access the switches, and then Martin Brom from Postmarket OS tells me in my video that the speed of the two devices, even though they have faster CPUs on the Librem 5, and they're operating at the same speed, it makes you wonder if you should, take that risk at the moment. Maybe wait until somebody can tell us. I'll do the review for you if I can get an early copy, and I'll tell you if it, do speed comparison. Maybe they don't want to give that out too early, so so you get all committed to that. Hello, Richie Luxury. So anyway, so that's that's the way that's looking, from beyond what I said in the video. Now, some people made a comment on the video that, why are we doing this? Why do I care about the Lynx phone and all this? And I don't want people to be sidetracked for, as far as what the purpose is. The purpose obviously is, for me, I want a privacy device. I want a phone that I can take. This is running Lineage OS with no Google apps. And I want the phone that doesn't track where I'm going and what I'm doing and so on. And this partially does it. But something happened that's kind of interesting, and that's really the topic of this video. McAfee. Anyone know who John McAfee is? I followed John McAfee on Twitter, so he lives a kind of an exciting life of escape. He's escaping from three-letter agencies. So you follow him on Twitter and you watch his life, escaping three-letter agencies, and has managed to evade three-letter agencies, for the last easily for the last year, and he's always like sending this information about where he is, and he always sends you pictures about where he is, and it turns out, that could be months later when he was there. Anyway, John McAfee made this comment. He doesn't make antivirus anymore. McAfee used to be owned by Intel. Intel, I guess, sold it. I don't know who owns McAfee now, but for a while it was owned by Intel. I will have to change carriers for the PinePhone since I am with Verizon. Agorist McAfee? What is Agorist? Or you're against McAfee? New creations create revolutions of change. Anyway, this is an interesting the purpose of this video is about a comment that McAfee made, because it's classic. And I need to make a separate video about this so those who don't watch my live streams can see this. But the comment was, he said that covert agencies, three-letter agencies, have focused their surveillance to now be based on phones. So all of the energies of three-letter agencies as far as surveillance goes, are now based on phones. So if you do not have a phone, a lot of the surveillance stops. Okay, that's a very interesting, very, very interesting thing to me to realize that's how far they've gone. That back in the day, I would think about surveillance being more IP address and all this, and I have to use Tor and some of these options. And if what he's saying is true, it requires kind of a different thought process here. He owned his junk on a platter. So anyway, he that's at the end of 2020. I own no cell phones, was waiting on Librem. McAfee is an Intel asset playing the spoiler. Anyway, I thought the comment was very, very interesting, and I actually think it's true. So that the covert agencies, especially the Five Eyes, and certainly countries like China and Russia, are probably now focused on doing surveillance using your phone. So if you don't want to be part of the surveillance database, then you would think the solution is very easy. Either A, not have a cell phone, or B, make a cell phone that's immune to attacks by three-letter agencies and covert agencies. At the moment, that is possible part of the time using a Linux phone. It's about as close as you can get to a phone you can use that can be immune at times from government surveillance. Not 100%, and I'll explain why, but at least it's a partial solution. I actually don't know of any device that could evade a three-letter agency. So just to again repeat some of the things I've said in many videos that many of you may not realize, that your phone is constantly doing a lot of tracking, right? I mean, it should be obvious by now if you're following my channel that the phone is doing that. One of the methods used is called Wi-Fi scanning. So the device is constantly on. This is not something you can turn off. There's an independent study of this, that if you just leave your phone untouched and monitor the traffic on the Wi-Fi using like Wireshark or something that can monitor the traffic of this, you will find out that this sends out a ping on Wi-Fi, on RF, that says, I announce who I am whatever the MAC address is of this device, and I'm looking for such and such a network. Your favorite networks is going out searching any networks out there, any Wi-Fi networks. And then what happens is all of the Wi-Fi networks nearby are also emitting signals saying, I'm SSID, Starlight's home, I'm SBS's home, I'm Mel Gibson's home. And all of this is pinging, all the Wi-Fi's are pinging around. And this device then captures that and says, okay, let me record the Wi-Fi's that are around me, and then I will record the signal strength and then the GPS position off the phone, and that is now sent to Google. Well, so Google, without you doing anything, is pinging the phone. If you're using Android, is pinging the phone, or the phone is pinging Google every multiple times a second, as much as multiple times a second. On an iPhone, it could be every 10 seconds. It could be a few times a minute, and it slows down. So it's not a constant rate. It's a varying rate on the iPhone. So if you're on the receiving end of that, and I'm talking about Apple and Google, you can actually then find out anyone's location simply from what they're pinging on the phone. So there's no doubt that Apple and Google know exactly where every phone is. of every person that has a phone in the entire world. There's also no doubt they can make a map that pinpoints population in any given location based on the number of phones that they find at any specific location, based on pinging the Wi-Fi routers around you, which they have a database of. So this is already being done. So if you didn't follow what Snowden said, there's a program called Muscular. That's one of the programs. And that kind of data may be shared. I don't know if this specific data is shared, but some data of this sort is shared with the National Zucking Agency, 3-letter covert agencies. And they're sharing that information, so then they can, in theory, then pull out and say, identify where anyone is at any one time using this shared data and for the purpose of national security. And they can use that for population management to say who was at the protest, who was over here, over there. This has already happened. The law enforcement, this is not 3-letter agencies now, law enforcement has already been, this has already been in the papers, and I've already known this, but it's nice to get it confirmed. So reporters have proved that, in fact, there's been court orders to supply location data based on the location. So, for example, if there's a crime in a neighborhood, they say, well, who was at that neighborhood? We want to know everyone that's been there. And so, by the same token, they can say, well, there was an anti-Trump protest over there. There was an Antifa protest over here. I want to know every single person that was there, and then identify all of your devices. Okay, this is now the way we're tracked, and it's just. I was at a friend's house last night. I was at a friend's house, and they had Alexa on. And you know me and Alexa, okay? So, it's really uncomfortable to have a conversation with Alexa there. Okay? So, I have to make sure I talk only when other people are talking so that the voice recognition can't pick out the words I'm saying. So I have to make sure multiple people are talking at the same time. And until, I put so much guilt into my friend's, mind that he turned off Alexa. So I told him, all the spying and all that going on. So anyway, with all of this stuff that's going on with all the tracking, he wasn't concerned, and his reaction was like, I don't have anything to hide. I don't care. I don't have anything to hide. And it just boggles the mind, guys, because I'm saying to myself, it's not about you. And I told him myself, buddy, it's not about you. It's about controlling a population. If I know what triggers you, if I know what makes you mad, if I know what kind of messaging I need to give you, I can then manipulate things like elections and public opinions and so on. I can keep passing the same message over and over until I convince you that X is now the issue of today. So, maybe, the new bad word is to say, dog. And if you say dog, it's a cuss word now that may imply some racial thing that somebody will invent. So if I push that and say dog equals, let's say dog is an Asian slur. Let's invent that for a moment. So then if I keep repeating that and then it catches on, and now society has now experienced a new change from there, and then I can now use it to my advantage. So this is the kind of stuff that really, really bothers me when people say they have nothing to hide. Do not give these institutions the tools to manipulate us, folks. Do not give them the tools. If you've ever experienced being in a dictatorship like I have, okay, when I was a kid, I lived in a place with a dictatorship government, and I could not tell you how uncomfortable that is, that you cannot say anything in public. My parents would tell me, you cannot say anything in public because someone else may be on the other side and will report you, and you will go to Zucking jail. So can you imagine living your life like that, where you feel so helpless, and then there's Elections can't do anything. There's nothing you can do. It's like being in a communist country. And can you imagine if they had the ability to know what our opinions were back then when I was young? Fortunately, they didn't have that. But now we're giving them the tools, so that's no longer possible. In some other cultures, it will no longer be possible to hide your opinion. So let's say that some country that's democratic right now, and then, let's say Germany is democratic right now, and 20 years from now is no longer democratic. Now what? Now what? Then, by the way, Germans are the number one most dense users of Facebook on a per capita basis. The Germans just love Facebook. They don't care about any other social media. They're like really, really fond of Facebook. So the data collected on every German is on there. Every opinion, everything that they've ever thought about is now there, available to be sold to companies that collect that information, so they have an idea of your personality and so on, like they did with Cambridge Analytica. So you really want that? See, I think ahead. I understand how data is manipulated. I understand how data is collected. And in my early part of my career, I was very involved in medical research. And one of the terms used in medical research is outcomes analysis. Outcomes analysis is where you create a database of everyone's medical history, and based on some pattern of how they came about, from birth to death kind of health record, that you may be able to come up with a pattern that says, this person here got this disease because of X, and that is called outcomes analysis, where you are, constantly tracking the entire medical record. So, yes, I know the value of that kind of data to a data mining expert, where they can pull out that information and do statistical studies and find out, maybe how diseases start. Well, think about that not in terms of medical, but think about that as social media activity, and using AI kind of, statistical studies that say, okay, we can predict behavior based on what you've done in the past. That is very scary, folks, because I understand data, how that's used. That is a very scary proposition, and I've seen it used in medical, and it really bothers me that you can do that if they have possession of the data, which they do. Maybe let them know that BitChute is a good backup for. It's very funny, Chubby Fox, that YouTube decides to block any comments about BitChute. That's very funny. They blocked that. See, I had to approve that comment, so they blocked BitChute. Live to send 5 years. That's too long. Increase the sodium fluoride. So anyway, what I'm saying is that don't be weak, people. We need to fight. We can't accept a world where somebody's developing tools for control. You don't realize, because maybe some of you are not smart enough to see that what that can be used for. Even after Cambridge Analytica, I can't believe that people still don't understand how that data can be used. The Cambridge Analytica thing, they said we have 5,000 points of data on each individual each voter in the United States, and based on these 5,000 points of data, we can derive a personality profile. And I don't know how far they got, but wow! And now we're giving them even more data than those 5,000 points. And if they can actually predict behavior, then what's to stop them from causing, in fact, maybe the Russians are so smart because they've been able to cause, division in the politics of the U.S. simply by influencing social media. So every time you type in BitChute, it gets banned. Okay. Okay, so I guess they don't want you to say BitChute. So yeah, don't make me work, guys. Stop saying BitChute, because YouTube doesn't like that. They'll probably demonetize me now because you mentioned BitChute. The entire OS operates in the USB and use RAM. You're talking about Tails. Okay, watch my video on Tails. It's not Russia. No, Russia was involved just like the US is involved in Russia. Come on, Mel Gibson. You got to understand how the world works. Okay? Did Russia meddle in our affairs by trying to influence social media? Yeah, of course. Come on. This has been going on since the Cold War. Nothing's changed. It's still going on. But, Mel Gibson, the U.S. does the same. So it's not like it's one-sided. I am certain that the U.S. tries to influence the Russians as well. So that this is, it goes both ways. Okay? So, yeah. So you kind of think you want to complain about the Russians doing it, and you say, well, but we do it too. It's best if everyone just stops doing it, but they're not going to do it. No doubt, somewhere in the YouTube terms of service, they can do whatever they want for whatever reason they want. Yes, fact, that's already made clear to us. They can shut down our channel for any reason. Russia did not cause division. The socialists caused the whole. No, SBS. No. Don't mix topics up, okay? This has nothing to do with Russian hacking the DNC or anything like that. I'm not talking about that. I'm not talking about that SBS. That's. I'm not talking about, was there collusion with Russia, Trump this, Trump. No. That's not what I'm talking about. That's not what I'm talking about. I'm saying that in general, countries like, even North Korea, Russia and so on, have been trying to influence us in some ways, and they found that we are dumb enough to get influence in social media. So, and we accept that, and all they have to do is cause some trigger words. If I know who responds to some trigger words, I can just trigger you on Twitter, and you'll go crazy. It's so easy to do. I can tell you individuals, so you can trigger with a few words. Come up with a bot account and trigger them, and they'll go crazy. So, okay, so this happens. This is not a mystery. It's been happening since the Cold War. If you're going to tell me that countries don't try to influence other countries, then you got to be kidding me. You don't understand how intelligence works. Okay, that's old stuff. It's nothing new. It has nothing to do with this, except that we have more centralized data from social media. So one of the things that changed, by the way, which makes us more easily manipulated, is back in the old days, we did not have this kind of centralized media that we do now. In fact, the internet was not supposed to be centralized. The original intent of the internet, in the late 1990s and the early 2000s, the original intent of the internet was it's going to be like the wild, wild west. Everyone can make a website. Everyone can have a website. Everyone can speak out, and everyone is equal on the internet. Well, that's not true anymore. That's not true anymore. The internet now is made of gateways, and the gateways are controlled by Google, Apple, Microsoft, Yahoo, and so on. There's a few. Facebook, of course. Really, it's mostly the information is controlled mostly by Facebook and Google. They're, that's number one. So between Facebook and Google, they're the gateways of information to the world. So they can control opinions and so on. So it's just two places. And that was not the original design of the internet. So it's very scary when you allow yourself to be manipulated. When they collect all the information, it is centralized, so it's very easy to get kind of like population control and population manipulation, because they have all the data on each and every one of you. Okay, let me see. To avoid your children being brainwashed, learn the trivium and teach your children the trivium and quadrivium. I don't know what that is, Carthaginian love. I read it, but got to be careful. If I don't know what that is, I could get demonetized. So, we can't. I can't be aggressive with things that I don't know. Anyone can do their own thing, and you can't stop me. R.I.P. the internet of old. Well, Chubby Fox, they could suppress you like they suppress me. For example, if I am on YouTube talking about Zuck, if I say a lot of negative things about Zuck, nobody watches the video. Now, why is that? Is no one watching the video because they're not interested, because they're supporters of Zuck? Or they're not watching the video because the algorithm decides they don't want to push that kind of video? So look at my videos on Zucking Zuckbook. Very few viewers, but if I talk about Linux, there's going to be a ton of viewers. So I have to make everything be about Linux, because otherwise nobody's going to watch it. It's kind of crazy. I got to go around. It's like manipulation here. I'm going to try to manipulate back, Everything I talk about has to be somehow tied to Linux and Linux phones, and then I can say, well, yes, the reason you want a Linux phone is to deny them the information. Okay, see, Mel Gibson, why is it nothing is obviously bad in everything you said there, yet the AI found something. See what I'm talking about there? Mel Gibson? Your comment was blocked. Okay, what in the heck did you say that would make it blocked? You just said fingerprinted and tracked. So they have a new AI that says, are you conspiracy theorists? In which case they don't want any conspiracy theory kind of posts or videos on YouTube. Okay, how do I pronounce that? Astral. Okay, I guess I'm not gonna do another bit shoot here. Okay, so Mel Gibson, you just saw that the algorithm picked out your words, and the algorithm said that we're gonna block this, but why? Because it probably said this sounds like a tinfoil hat kind of comment, but you didn't use any special words. Wow. Do you see that? So Mel Gibson's comment is, pretty benign. I mean, there's no swear words, there's no mention of competing YouTube products, and yet they blocked that. Now, Astral here said, a YouTube competitor, I'm not going to keep repeating it, but you know what? And so they blocked that. So YouTube doesn't like you to talk about a competing platform. But what did Mel Gibson say? Why did the algorithm pick that out? You see how we're manipulated here? So even when I do my videos, I cannot be direct in what I talk about. All of my videos that talk about privacy directly are banned. Now, some people are saying to me, some people are telling me, why are your videos so techie now and so geeky? Because I got to get the viewers, and the viewers wanted me to be more geeky, because I can't, if I talk simply about the issues of, zucking Zuck, they hide the videos. So I have to sneak it in on the side. Okay, I have to sneak it in on the side so you can see how difficult it is for me. So I hope you understand, and I hope you support what I do, because it's Goku. I guess they don't mind that one. You know why I think Goku? I think maybe that they associate bit whatever with tinfoil hat. Okay, maybe it's a tinfoil hat kind of. How did How did get into OPSEC? I'm not into OPSEC. You are. I didn't get into OPSEC. Okay. I'm not into OPSEC. I am I'm in cybersecurity, which is not necessarily OPSEC. My background, guys, for those of you who are new to me and don't understand my background, is I'm a software developer originally. Actually, no, I'm a software architect. I've architected enterprise systems for a long time. I'm very well known in my circle for what I've done. The systems that I've done are running large enterprises all over the country. So the systems I've made, designed by me, some of it solely designed by me, are out there and being sold even today. So not part of that anymore, but they're still being sold, and it's made by me. And back in the day, because of my expertise in what I do, I have to know everything. So back just to give you an idea, when let's say a big hospital used my system, and let's say they were getting hacked. Well, no one actually had any skills to do cybersecurity back in the old days, because no one knew how it worked. Well, since I wrote everything, and I was designing server side and client server side processes and built my own browsers and things, and servers and all that stuff that I built back in the day. So I know how the internet works. I know how to hack. I know how to stop hacking. I know all the different flaws. I understand it at a micro level. I understand how to do all that. And I demonstrate that on here. I was using Wireshark way before it was called Wireshark. It was called Ether. See, I can't even remember now. Ether something. Okay, it was so old. That's before it became Wireshark. So I'm a C programmer, and I had a staff of. I have many programmers working for me. And so I've done this over the years, and my I know everything because I had to. It was my job. There was nobody else to go to. I was kind of the, if in the entire company, if no one could solve the problem, I had to be the one to solve it. There was no other place to go. I was the end of the line for any technical resolution for any problem. Ethereal. Somebody's old here too. Okay, Soy Doomer it's Ethereal. Yes, that's the original name, Ethereal, not Ethercap, Ethereal. So yeah, and I had to pay for Ethereal, and Wireshark is free, so it's like Zuck. I didn't have to pay for that. So yes, I was running Ethereal. Before then, we didn't even use Ethernet back in the day. Networks were using things like Lantastic and Novell networks, so stuff like that. I mean, it's not even and Unix terminals, Unix multi-user machines. When will you write a book about privacy? Do you use Kali Linux? Yes, I use Kali Linux when I need to use Kali Linux. If there's a need to use Kali Linux, I will. Still no response to bad USB. What are we talking about, Crime Stoppers? Are you asking tech support right now? I not sure what you're talking about. So what are we talking about, Crime Stoppers? Did I miss some? Have you been asking tech support comments in this whole thing here, and I don't understand the context? Yeah, don't do that. I'm not going to know what you're saying. So, can you briefly mention how easy to find someone's location based on pictures? There's an algorithm on Google and Facebook has this algorithm. I'm wondering if Amazon has a algorithm you can rent, But basically, they are able to spot the city where you live based on the photo of your house. So the AI has found that each one of us has kind of a unique, unique design. And if they see the design of your house, they'll say, "Oh, you're from Los Angeles. Oh, you're from New York." So bad USB. You have a question about rubber ducky Crime Stoppers. Do you know that rubber ducky on the new machines requires bootable access on USB? You got to turn it on BIOS. So rubber ducky is not going to work anymore on new computers. Maybe an old computer, but on a new computer, they switch that off in BIOS. By default, you can't run a rubber ducky. Watch it out for them moving into a virtual clone of your desktop as they switcheroo your OS to one that's less secure, like an in-place update. Oh, I can't. That's not something that I have to worry about. Where can I read about that AI? Well, it's all over, but it was in the press. But if you're a user of Amazon AWS, it's one of their APIs, I'm sure. They have an API that says you can send them the pictures and then tell the AI to classify the picture. They have a classification program for AI. So for photo AI, they have that. That's part of the, it's not just facial recognition. It can do more than that. So that's the kind of stuff that's on Amazon AWS. You can, for example, rent the use of their API for facial recognition. You pay by the minute, CPU time. So I don't know if it's TensorFlow. I forget now which one it is because obviously I don't use that stuff. But yeah, you can pass a stream of photos, and then you pay by thousands of photos. For every 10,000 photos, you pay X, something like that. I thought about AI that can tell what city you are based on data. Yeah, the data comes from photos, so they actually have that. Yes. So a couple of years ago, I think. So I don't know how how much more advanced that is now, but they actually can do that. Yes. But so I'm in Los Angeles. I don't have to hide that. They'll figure it out. EXIF data is wiped, but still assign a hash that fingerprints the photo. Facebook does that, but it fingerprints it to the uploader. Facebook does that. They will hash the photo to make sure that they say, well, you uploaded that. So they can say, if somebody stole the photo, they can say, you did not upload that photo originally. You don't own that photo. So Facebook started doing a hash to identify the source. And the reason for this is if somebody has a nude photo of you that you uploaded and they got a hold of it, they can now block the other copies because they say, well, that's not you because you uploaded it first. It's kind of stupid, but so no book soon. I wrote a book back in the day, but I have my website, whatthezuck.net, which has a lot of stuff in there. I was beginning to write a book, but I'm doing YouTube, so hard to do both. Basically, videos are more powerful than making a book at the moment. So it's called Metadata Carth. So speaking of facial recognition, how much does one's face have to change before facial recognition software won't recognize someone as the same person? Most facial recognition is based on the proportion of eyes, nose, ears, mouth. So if you Photoshop your photo and change the distance with your eyes, even if it's ever so slight, or move your nose up a little bit or move it down a little bit, you will not be recognized. So if you remove EXIF data from the photo, can it still be done? Fingerprinting is nothing. They don't get information if you don't have EXIF data, other than recognizing what's in the photo, which they do. So yes, they'll do facial recognition on everyone in the photo, and then they'll check location based on the photo environment. I think they can go down to the level of a city or rough area. They probably can say Southern California. Yes, you can get like 4 different programs to do that on Linux. Copy image off VK and upload to FB, no issues. Why is that blocked? You see what I mean? So that comment by Crime Stoppers, which just said copy image off VK and upload to FB, no issues, that was blocked. I really like to understand how the AI is trying to figure this out. It's really interesting, because I understand if somebody makes a negative comment, about me and tries to, say, stick an egg roll up your ass, or open your eyes so you can get back home from China, or some comment like that I usually get. But what the zuck is that? See, Crime Stoppers, that did not stop. It needed a context. It needed it's very interesting how it does that. That in itself is a form of manipulation. I don't know why it's doing that. I don't know how the AI is deciding that whatever, and if I'm gonna, put a classification of what I'm seeing here, the AI is saying we don't want tinfoil hat people. Yeah, Crime Stoppers, whatever you said was blocked. I released it, but it blocked it. Okay, so, and it doesn't block when you type in the name of the VK. It doesn't seem to stop that. Yeah, I know, Crime Stoppers. It doesn't stop VK. By the way, the first facial recognition attempt used in the streets was used on VK. So somebody in Russia made an app that took the photos from VK, and then the average Russian would point the camera into you and know who you are based on your VK profile. But I would bet that only works in Moscow. Can you imagine if you were in Siberia? They probably don't have enough data. Yeah, nobody probably uses it in Siberia. So anyway, AI understands context. Yes, the AI must understand. They might demonetize me now because of what you guys are talking about. They might say, "Oh, it's sounding like tinfoil hatty here, so we'll demonetize." So, yeah, I don't know. We're just making a comment here on what the AI is doing to the chat. Can you imagine that? I mean, some of the comments were, I don't know. There was nothing, no specific words that were bad. And then the Putin uses WinXP. There's nothing really like inherently bad about what's being said. And then the AI blocked it. And I don't understand. Why did it block some of these comments? Like from Crime Stoppers. Maybe Crime Stoppers himself is profiled. Crime Stoppers, maybe you are personally profiled. Maybe it knows your behavior. Maybe it knows what you say in other broadcasts. That could be it. So it's just interesting. It's just interesting, what we're discovering here. YouTube is attacking crypto channels. Black media channels are getting channeled fully banned, but they have rallied their audience to automatically petition YouTube to reinstate them. So Crime Stoppers is a true tinfoil ad guy. You said dog demonetized at a loss of 2,000 subscribers. Wow. So okay. Now Crime Stoppers just said holy shite. So that is obvious. That's going to get blocked. Okay, I'm just making an observation here. Because I understand if they are blocking to protect the broadcaster from people saying bad words or insults and so on, but the kind of things that are blocked here is kind of just suspicious. I don't understand the context because there were no bad words said. Spelling game. See, JK. See, I'll approve that. And it says, what are you saying? What is JK saying? I'm going to go stop it. So just make a note of this for future reference, So this is just example of what I'm talking about when I talk about, how we can be controlled and manipulated. Here's the AI deciding what we should see. I don't usually like censorship. Even on my broadcast, I don't even stop people from, saying what they want to say and say, you chinky-eyed, whatever, it's like, zuck you. I helped design shelters. SHT. No wonder Crime Stoppers. Crime Stoppers. There you go, man. You've been profiled. Do you see that, guys? Crime Stoppers there is a prepper. So he's been profiled. So they know what Crime Stoppers talks about, and then they're putting context to what he's doing. Don't do that, Mel Gibson. That definitely will be blocked. You should understand YouTube by now, Mel Gibson. That kind of thing is going to be blocked. Okay, so I don't have to go test that. I don't have to test that. That's obvious. Okay, you can't spell, but you'll be profiled based on what you do all over YouTube, JK. I mean, the AI is probably keeping a profile of each and every one of you and saying this person thinks like this. And the comments are based on this. So therefore, we know what you're going to say in advance. So just be cautious, guys. Anyway, one of the things, the main thing of what I was telling you today, is that this is the evil device that we got to worry about, because apparently they are relying on this as the main source of intelligence and profiling now more than anything else. This has become number one. So can you imagine being one of the few with a Linux phone or a non-Android and iOS phone? If you have, even if I'm running Lineage OS here and I'm not running Google, there's no Google apps here. So I have no Google Store. So they don't know anymore what the identity is, like who's attached to this phone, because there's no apps that identify me. So if I leave the house, they don't know who owns the phone. So, and this not being Android from Google does not have any kind of Wi-Fi scanning and stuff like that. So it shows you that we have to fight back. And this is the reason I keep talking about, it's not that I'm trying to be super techie, guys, and being super geeky like Entire want me to do. The point is that in very simplistic terms, this is spying on you. And if you pay attention to what I'm talking about and say, hey, I don't know what this Linux phone thing is, but maybe I want that. I don't know anything about Linux. Who cares? You don't need to know anything about Linux. I just want to be able to use a phone, do texting, and do minor things. Yes, you can do that on this kind of phone that's running Linux. And if you use it for that minimal purpose, then it cannot track you. Okay? So that's, whether you think what I'm talking about is techie or geeky or whatever, it doesn't really matter. You got to get down to the point of what I'm trying to get at here. And what I'm trying to get at is, it goes beyond just arguing about Linux and what distros we're using and so on. We don't care about that. I don't care what Linux distro you're using, because if you're using Linux, chances are you're not being tracked. Okay? It's that simple. There's not a lot of tracking that you can do on Linux. Nobody even knows how many people use Linux. Did you know that? Did you know that Canonical, the makers of Ubuntu, they actually tried to track people using Ubuntu because they don't even know how many people use Ubuntu. They have no idea. So they put a little bit of tracking on Ubuntu to make your computers report in so they can do a count. People complained about that, and so they had to take it out. And it was funny as heck. Because that's how the Linux world is. Nobody gets to track anyone on Linux. They don't like it. So Canonical lost a lot of customers. A lot of people who are using Ubuntu don't want to use Ubuntu anymore because of the tracking. So they made a bad move. And now everybody on Google now says, we don't want that. We're going to go to MX and Manjaro. So now, suddenly, nobody wants to talk about, Ubuntu and Linux Mint anymore. Suddenly, everyone on the internet is talking about MX Linux and Manjaro, and I've never even used MX Linux. So that's the new thing. The new top thing is to use MX Linux. And then I looked at it and it's like it doesn't look that different to me. It looks pretty close to the same. But if you're using Linux, you're not going to be tracked. It's that simple. So the other thing is they're spending less time tracking computers and they're spending more time tracking phones. I'm not so trusting of Linux. Ubuntu and Mozilla are up to something no good. Ubuntu is Canonical. Mozilla, I can't imagine that you would have any problem with Mozilla. Mozilla has been on our side for the most part. Well, Arch is better, to be honest. So you like Manjaro then, Hoisting. I found this channel because I was researching the Librem 5. Some people are saying, my channel's turned into a geeky channel because everyone came in here because they're researching Linux phones. So understand what my channel is. I am geeky and I can talk about phones all day. I understand these phones at a level that's much higher than most because I've been experimenting with them for years. So in this channel I've been talking to you about all the spying I've been tracking the spying on these phones for 4.5 years in live. I've been showing you. I've been tracking before that, but I actually started talking about it on the internet since 4.5 years ago. And prior to doing YouTube, I was also doing it on AM radio. I was a frequent guest on WBZ radio in Boston, AM radio, and talking about these same issues. So that's been around. Never use MX Linux if it's not trustworthy. Try Astra Linux, Manjaro Cole. You really want? Everybody's been pushing me to try Astra Linux. There's just so many people want me to try Astra Linux. Like, suck. You want me to try the Russian Linux. Why do I need to use a Russian Linux? Why? Are you saying I can't use any other kind of Linux? I got to use Russian Linux. I don't know why. I love the phone talk. It helps me understand what to look for and what to avoid. Going to learn Linux deeper to avoid being tracked 24/7 by Android and iOS. I still use Ubuntu and Mint. I am running on Ubuntu right now, to be honest. And I also am running Manjaro on a virtual machine and on another computer. So I haven't tried MX yet. I'm just not, my servers are all Debian. So I'm spoken geek for years, just a different accent now. I try Red Star over a Russian one. Is that the same Russ? Is that our Russ? Is that our PC Russ? Or is that a different Russ? Do you mind explaining the difference between Lineage OS and stock OS so viewers can understand the lack of gaps on Lineage versus stock? Okay. That's a good question, Mr. Jones. Good question, and good thing I saw that. Okay, so I am running on a OS on this phone called, in the general category of a custom ROM. So that's what it's called. And what is a custom ROM? Custom ROM is running the open source Android. It's called Android Open Source Project, AOSP. So all of the people running a custom ROM are a fork of Android Open Source Project, AOSP. So one of the forks of AOSP is open source. It's written by Google, but they leave it open so everyone can go to it. AOSP is written by Google only. You can't, change AOSP. And then Google writes the standard stock Android on top of that, and that's what they ship on your Google phone. So if you have a Pixel or a Nexus, Android is going to ship the standard Android on that, and that standard Android will be AOSP plus Google. And what Google means, it has everything to do with all the apps from Google, and it also includes the Google Play Store, and in general, it includes things called GApps, GAPPS, or GApps, Google Apps. So that's not all of it. There's more Google apps that are in the stock Android, but the base one is not included in a custom ROM for licensing reasons because they are proprietary code. So, for example, you cannot look at the source code of Google Play Store. That's not possible because the Play Store is a proprietary Google app. A lot of the Google apps, like all the setting stuff that you do on Google, notifications and things like that, that's all done by Google. So that's not part of Android Open Source Project, AOSP. Now, some companies have taken the standard Android AOSP, the open source, and modified it and make a new version of Android. It is called an Android Custom ROM. One of the most popular of that is Lineage OS, which I have a video about, and this is what I use here. There are obviously many custom ROMs, many. So they're based on Android drivers, a base Android, but they do not by default include Google Apps. So this one does not have Google Apps. CQ, are we doing ham radio here right now? So, okay, so Lineage OS, if you install it, you have the option to add Google Apps to this, in which case it's no better than standard. It's no better than standard Android. So if you're gonna want to feel safe about the phone, is he free? No, not that I'm aware of. Is Snowden free? So Lineage OS by default does not include Google Apps, but many people will install Google Apps on here, which kind of defeats the purpose. So my preference is to not install Google Apps. Okay, now if you want to use some apps that are not in Google Apps, believe it or not, there are some places to get the APK files. That's the name of the executable file that runs on on Android. If you can get an APK file that is not from the Google Play Store, it will actually run on this. So here, I actually made the APK of Bracks.me available without going to the Play Store. So you can run Bracks.me. You can get the Google app, the Bracks.me APK file from GitHub. Okay? So you can do that, and so Oxygen, and yeah, it's another AOSP. So in general, each AOSP is safer by default without Google Apps. Is safer than standard Android. However, the problem is that the phone itself has built-in spying code that is in parts of this that you cannot control because they're part of Android. Wi-Fi triangulation is one of them. Some of the backdoors to your cell baseband, how they can actually control carrier updates and custom code to the carrier baseband to spy on you. I have several videos on that. It's called backdoors to your phone. Watch those videos. Again, those videos are not promoted by Google, by YouTube. I don't know why, but some of my videos are not promoted. So, they choose what they promote. They don't promote the videos on the back doors. You tell me why. So I suggest you watch that, because you now understand why I do not want an Android AOSP phone, because the drivers are proprietary and they have built-in code in here on the baseband modem, on the Wi-Fi triangulation, Wi-Fi scanning and all that is built into the Wi-Fi hardware. They're part of the chip. Okay? So it's not in the code, Mr. Jones. It's not in the source code, because they're called binary blobs. So they're part. So AOSP is open source, but all of the drivers for all the devices are not open source, Mr. Jones. The baseband, the Wi-Fi, all of the drivers for any device are not open source. They are very proprietary. They can put anything in there. Anything. Okay, just so you understand that. This is why a Linux device with open source doesn't have that issue, because on Linux, the source code has to be published for it to be part of the Linux kernel. You can't fake that on Linux. So they don't, on Linux, if it's going to be part of the kernel, it's going to have to be source code based. Okay? Yes, so when they say binary blobs, it means it's an executable. You only get the executable, you don't get the source code. So that's what a binary blob means. So, somebody started calling, back in the old days, we called them executables, but nowadays they're referring to them as binary blobs. The reason is they're just like memory images. I told you this before, and I want to make sure you understand this again, that there are several computers on a phone. A phone is not a single computer. The phone includes the computer for the baseband. The baseband is a separate computer system on a chip, SoC, by itself. It has a CPU, memory, input, output, and all that. It actually runs separate from the other machine, and it shares memory with the main memory. So that's why it's kind of a scary thing when you're letting a computer sit inside a computer in a computer. This is why it's really, when you start understanding how these phones are made, then you start understanding why we're so concerned. Why do I push Linux phones and all that? You start to understand what this is all about. You start to understand why Purism did what it did, and they had an amazing kind of goal and objective. Perhaps the execution is not perfect. PinePhone somewhat copied them, and they already did some of the work in advance, so they managed to sneak by and kind of sneak ahead. But it's but the original intent of Purism is very, very good, and that's why I support them, because I know that the intent is right. A little bit of an execution problem, and hopefully they will solve that. But yes, they charge more for their product, but if they help the community, I don't care if they make money. It's not it's not any more than I pay for an iPhone. My iPhone, I paid $1,400 for my last iPhone, and that's like, suck this. Why am I paying $1,400 for an iPhone? Right? So anyway, so that's why I focus on what I focus on, because I understand how these devices are made. I just want to make sure you understand that the difference is on the new Linux phones, and I'm talking about the PinePhone and the Librem 5, they both can shut down the binary blobs with a switch. So how does the covert agencies spy on you? If I'm not using the phone, I just turn off the baseband. If I'm not using Wi-Fi, I turn off the Wi-Fi. Then it stops scanning. It can't do anything to me. Okay, so you make a choice. You go without having to leave your phone. You can keep your phone on you. I kind of wish for the old days where we had, beepers. I wish I had a beeper, and then they just beep me if they want me to turn on the phone. That's what I want. A beeper that will tell me to turn on the phone. Otherwise, my phone is off. So, $1,400 to be spied on. That's exactly right. So that's why I'm talking about geeky stuff like Linux phones, people. So understand that. Some of you have been followers of mine for a long time. Need to understand why the shift of topic here. It's actually the same as I've been talking about, because the more I learn, the more I realize that there is really no way around it other than to get a Linux phone. It's the only way out. If John McAfee is correct, and I think he is, all of the surveillance has now been focused on the phone, and the only protection is to not have a phone, like Snowden. Snowden doesn't carry a phone, or have a way to switch off parts of the phone that you want to switch off. Then if you expose yourself in a controlled way. You make the decision to expose yourself. Do you think your channel will ever get blocked from YouTube? I'm on Bracks.me, Cam. So everyone understand where I am. I have my own app. It's Bracks.me. So I can't be taken out of the internet because I already have a platform. It's an open source social media and messaging app, Bracks.me. We have discussions over there. So join us on Bracks.me, and so I can post videos there too if that ever happens. So yeah, so we don't necessarily have to worry about external platforms. Some people say, go to Gab, go to this, go to that, go to BitChute, go to Library and all these different platforms. I already have a platform and I made it. So anyway, well, John McAfee has a lot of experience with running. So he's running from covert agencies, and it's then from his life experience, he said, well, they haven't found me yet. And yet he's on social media every day. He is posting on Twitter constantly, and yet they haven't caught him. And why haven't they caught him? And he said a couple of days ago, the reason they haven't caught him is that they don't have a phone. They do not have a phone. Is it possible to modify an Android phone to run Posh or Linux? Not directly. At the moment, no. Let me see. Yeah, maybe it's possible to using post-market OS at some point. They have to find. It may be possible on some phones, like a Nexus 5. Then you load post-market OS, which is a mainline Linux distro, and then you can run Phosh, which is the interface made by Purism for the Librem 5, and then you can run that on Android. But you're going to have the binary blobs. Do you want the binary blobs without the switch? So that's a difference, guys. If you put Linux running Phosh, post-market OS on a phone, you still have the binary blobs, just like it is on a Nexus 5. The binary blobs are still there. So the pure solution is to switch it off, which you can do with a Linux phone. By the way, if you have an old BlackBerry, it also has binary blobs. So they're not going to track you with Google and Apple, but they're going to track you. The covert agencies can track you using binary blobs. Okay? So why not just a Faraday pouch? Tell them. Huge D byte. Well, one of the nice things about having a... Are you going to buy a Linux phone, huge D byte? Do you even care? One of the nice things about a Linux phone is that you can use the phone. You can play games. You can do stuff on it because you can turn off the switch. If you are using a Faraday bag, then you're not using the phone. You might as well just take off the power. By the way, on both the Librem 5 and the PinePhone, you can take the battery out. So you have another switch, a total switch. Okay, take the battery out if you want to make it more convenient. Just take the battery out, put it in your pocket. Just don't start a fire with a lithium-ion battery in your pocket. But you can do that. The switches are on the inside, so you'll need to carry a screwdriver with you if you want to switch it on and off. No, chubby fox, that is not correct. No, you slide the back cover off. It slides. You slide the back cover off just like on many... I don't have a phone like that right now, but if I had my BlackBerry here, you can slide the back off, and then the switches are right there. So you can do that. You can take out the battery or switch off the dip switches with your fingernail. So iPad has games, it stays at home. So my old Stylo 3 with removable battery, no way to erase Google and put Linux Touch on it. At the moment, well, I don't know. You got to check it by model. The older the machine, the less likely somebody will want to come up with a way to support it. I was once hired by, they know the exact location of each cell tech. Yeah, isn't that obvious, Crime Stoppers? Is that a mystery? What do you think of the OnePlus phones like the 7T? This is a OnePlus One. Okay, so this is compatible with, a OnePlus One is compatible with Lineage OS and with Ubuntu Touch. So, yeah, the PinePhone has switches, yes. And I believe Lineage OS runs on the 7T. You can find out, but the newer versions of the OnePlus work with Lineage OS. It doesn't work with... Only the OnePlus 3 works with Ubuntu Touch. The AT&T tech started using Sprint. Well, that doesn't help if they know your phone, find you with they can find you either way. They don't, you don't have to be an AT&T for them not to find you. They can find you by IMEI. Okay? Will you be reviewing the Pine tablet? If they, I mentioned to Pine64 if they can send me a review copy so I can review. So when I have time, I'll ask them again. Unix sued themselves into oblivion. Correct. Yes, can you imagine that? Unix used to be big and then now disappeared. So now FreeBSD is not the original Unix. It's a clone. So I don't think anybody uses the original Linux anymore. Who uses the original Linux? Maybe some old machines. But yeah, no one wants that because, say, we'll charge you royalties for using Unix. So nobody used Unix. So there you go. Kill the operating system. Well, I'll stick with the Librem 5. I don't need a second phone. Do you have a Librem 5, Hoisteen? The whole point is I don't have my Librem 5. I don't think even if I get it in April that it will work in April. It may work in September. That's why I said, let's be realistic here. Though I may get a Librem 5, it may not be functional by the time I get it. So Have you tried any Pixel device with Graphene OS? I have not tried Graphene OS, but Graphene OS does not really have, and I have a Pixel. Graphene OS is not ready for prime time. It doesn't. It's just a standard AOSP right now. Nothing really special about Graphene OS at the moment. And they said so. It's not done. They don't have anything. There's no privacy features of any significance on it. So Graphene OS is considered to be, the direction is supposed to be a cyber secure privacy device. Someday. Let's check in a couple of years. At the moment, nothing's happening yet. Is there any high-spec Linux phones that necessary? The Librem 5 is higher spec, but I'm not sure it will perform any faster. I'm in Dogwood, so maybe you're a month out. Well, I'm on Evergreen, so I'm saying that even if I get my Evergreen phone, I don't necessarily think it will run by the time I get it. So you have to be patient. You get the phone, it will have problems. No one calls me, so even the calling not working yet is not a big deal. I understand, Hoisteen. Patience with purism is not easy. It is not, because they don't really tell you the truth. So they didn't tell us that no one got the Aspen batch except for employees. They didn't tell us the Birch batch was only some small. I bet you the Aspen batch was like 20 phones, and then the Birch batch was like what, 100 phones? And what is the Chestnut batch? 200 phones? And then what is the Dogwood batch? 500 phones? I don't know. It's not a lot. No, the Librem 5 is being shipped in stages, and you're assigned a stage, and it's alphabetical, A, B, C, D, E. So I'm on batch E, and they gave it a name called Evergreen. So I'm on batch E, and Hoisteen there says he was on batch C, or D. And most people are in batch E. So the larger population, the thousands and thousands to be shipped are in batch E. And it only starts shipping, supposedly, it probably will get delayed, but they start shipping in April. They start shipping. So when you actually get one, could be May or June. I don't know. Okay? They did not say the volume amount. Yeah, and it's would have been better be upfront and say, we have a problem, guys. We may have to redo the motherboard. Let's talk about this. So sorry about all the promises, but we don't want to ship you a defective phone. And yet they did. So they shipped the Birch batch to reviewers, and it had some issues with shorts. Getting a short on the charger. That means it's a hardware fault. If you're getting a short on a charger, that's a hardware fault. I'm doing these electronic devices here. I know how to make these electronics. So something was wired wrong. It could be, the way that they did the circuits in the, that's not my computer now. You have to model the PCB, and something was connected to the wrong connector, and somebody missed it. What do you do then? You have to redesign the motherboard and do all that, and that means remaking the template for that, and that takes a while. So if you have to redo the motherboard, that could be 3 months delay. Just saying. So if that's going to be happening, why not tell us that? Okay, that's all. I mean, we ought to understand that there's difficulties. I mean, I told you this is difficult. Pine 64 is not actually all that special compared to Purism? Purism actually has less problems than Pine 64, except that the PinePhone is actually an existing product. It came from an existing product, has been around since 2015. It's 4 years old. So since the product has been around since 2015, they've had 3 years to resolve it. You should see it on the first year. It didn't run. The Pine A64 LTS, which is the basis for the PinePhone, did not run the entire first year. The first year, it didn't run. Okay? So if you understand that, and if Purism can get it running within the year, then they're already ahead. But just tell us up front, what the issues are, and so we're more patient. So, I was planning to do some development work on the PinePhone. That's why I'm on the Librem 5. That's why it's difficult when you don't have an idea of when it's going to come. So, and now they told us it's going to be, in April. So fine, I understand that. But then you see some issues that may cause delays. So some of these hardware issues may cause another delay. And I'd like to know if there's going to be another delay. Well, they're not the only one. System 76 also worked on the Intel Management Engine. So, the PinePhone, not the PinePhone itself, AMG, but the system on a chip called the All-Winner 64 and all the other parts of that, including the Wi-Fi and all the parts of that, are already existing. They're the same exact parts in the existing Raspberry Pi competitor called Pine A64 LTS. So that's been around since 2015, and all they did was redo the layout. You do that in CAD/CAM, and then then they just added another circuit for the sensors and for the baseband, which they did via USB. That's it. So it actually wasn't that complicated. And they put the switch at the USB side, which is easy because, we all know how USB works. There's a USB and there are wires in the back of this. So it's easy to put a switch on USB since you know where the power is. Okay? So that's what they did. And so they didn't really have to do that much work compared to Purism. Purism did a lot of work. So I appreciate the fact they did a lot of work. So just set expectations that you understand it may be difficult for them. If it's difficult for Pine 64, it will be, difficult for them as well. So just accept that. My warp speed charger on OnePlus 7T gets my battery fully charged in 15 minutes. Is this good for the battery life? Well, it doesn't matter. Batteries are cheap, Saeed. I wouldn't worry about that. Yes, I have a Mac. I have a Mac behind me, right here. Although I don't use it. I only use it if I have to submit an app to the App Store. Otherwise, I don't use it. I'm using Linux. Okay. So, has anyone tried a McLaren 5G One Plus? Why? Why would you encourage people to get Android phones, Said? Why are you encouraging people to get Android phones? I don't encourage it. Nexus 5 Parsa. I like the Nexus 5. This is kind of bulky. Okay, this is a OnePlus One. I prefer the Nexus 5. So, but this one has a better camera. So, isn't there El Chapo phone from his son? Speed? Saeed, it's Android. Come on, man. I just talked about all the spying and you're saying, let's get the fastest phone that can spy on us. I don't care how fast it is. It spies better. I don't get that. Oh, we better buy it because it's cheap, but it's spying on us. Oh, okay, well, but still it's cheap and fast. Yes, of course, that's why you buy them. They're cheap and fast, but they're not good for your health. So if I were you, I'd avoid it. Okay, so I'm trying to get away from using these kinds of devices. Of course, I'm a developer. That's what I do. Go to my GitHub, and then you'll see the open source of Bracks.me, which is in PHP. Then there's another open source in there. It's in Python. I'm a C programmer. Not a Linux phone, Saeed. That's what I'm saying to you. The new 2 Linux phones are the hardest to spy on. That's what this is all about. That's what this, all this recent talk is about. It's because those are the only 2 devices that are much harder to spy on. You can still spy on them somewhat, but if you turn off the switch, no. That's right, AMG. That the objective of this channel is not to be geeky to be geeky alone. It's the purpose is to give you a device that can protect us from all the spying. I don't get why people don't understand the Librem 5 USA. The supply chain management. Hoisting, the problem is the bad press. When you have a device that's not even running yet, meaning the $700 version, and then you're going to advertise a $2,000 version, it's kind of like bad PR. You didn't have to announce that then. You could have waited till, you're certain that you have good press on the 700 before you announce the $2,000 version. So it's obviously going to be a limited number of devices. Well, you can't see my C proprietary code, Russ, since I have corporate big companies running my products written in C. So I've spent my career making enterprise systems written in C. So you're not going to find that on GitHub. I'm not going to post that on GitHub. But Bracks.me, my social media app, is open source, and that's in PHP. And I wrote a Linux app supposedly for the Librem 5, and that was in Python. They should have waited on the press, yes. Too early to promote USA model. What's Linux to use at home? Unfortunately, reads, redactions. I am using Ubuntu right now. I'm broadcasting using Ubuntu. I'm broadcasting using OBS on an Ubuntu machine. So I have one that's running Manjaro, and the other one running Ubuntu, and another one, and then I have a Windows machine. Those are the 3 main ones I use. There's a Mac OS behind me. This is running, I think this is running Ubuntu as well. This is a Lenovo. I have, sorry. Yeah, the reason is this was running Pure OS from Purism, and then it didn't work. The drivers didn't work. So I had to use something that worked on it, and the one that worked was Ubuntu. Along with lying about their liver, which are definitely not used by Boeing, NASA, etc. The new rubber ducky avoids the Intel and AMD patches. Why don't you make your own rubber ducky? Why do you need to get a rubber ducky? I don't need to buy a rubber ducky from. Who'd you get it from? Like Hack 5, or where do you get your rubber ducky? Make your own rubber ducky. Actually, a lot of those things that you can use a rubber ducky on, you can't use a rubber ducky anymore. So on new computers, it's very hard to do it with rubber ducky. I could a couple of years ago, I could go to any computer and hack you in 30 seconds. So if you go to the bathroom, I can hack your computer. And I didn't tell anyone about the 0 day about that. And then they patched it. Zuck. I couldn't use it anymore. They patched it. But, I even showed it live on a broadcast. And I said, look, I can do this. And then I, showed them how I can hack a Mac in 30 seconds. And then the later releases of Mac OS eliminated that that problem. Rubber ducky is a USB hacking device. You stick it on the USB and then you can hack a computer by USB. So basically you put the program in the USB and you insert it, and then it auto executes and does things to the computer by auto executing, like rebooting it and so on. So then it can insert, for example, you can cause the computer reboot, insert something in the boot sector, and then you take the rubber ducky out, and then the user will have a remote access Trojan on the computer. So you can't do that now on many computers because they don't allow booting by USB by default. So yeah. So it can't be that easy and quick. Yes, Mr. Jones, that's, I'm the expert here. Okay, that's what I do. I can do that, yes. So I have the expertise to do that, yes. But it's harder now. Yeah, I did a broadcast where I showed you go to a website and I download the malware. I did this on Periscope. You just visit the website and I hack you, and I also download malware. I think I still have that demo. I download the malware to your computer, except it became harder to take the next step, which is to execute the malware. That required some social engineering. It's harder to, if you're not root, it's hard to do anything with the malware. That's why Linux is hard to hack. Okay? It can rip up the data between the CPU and RAM, and that's what causes the latency. Purism needs someone with basic PR sense over there. They're too small of a company, Hoistein. Everything is probably done by Todd. So they're not a big company. So, there's a bunch of heads in there, and they, make a decision with one or two people. So yeah, they don't have the luxury of having a big staff that can do all the, if they're not skilled at PR, then they're not skilled at PR. Oh, Mr. Jones, you just found my channel today. So did you come from Reddit? There's some mean people on Reddit, man. Mean people on Reddit. They're like, they think I'm some sort of zucking beginner here. Okay? If anyone here from Reddit and you see that, say something for me there, because I don't go to Reddit. And some of these people say something like mean things, and they have no idea what I know. I mean, I am not a zucking beginner. Okay? I am not a zucking beginner. I've, probably been programming since most of you were born. So I know everything. I've done everything. I've done every kind of programming and I can't even count how many languages. Somebody actually made the comment. I said I own a gazillion computers and 100 programming languages. I apparently I said that in some of the videos, and the guy said, "Oh, you're exaggerating." Well, actually, that's not too much of an exaggeration. I mean, how many languages do I know? I don't even know anymore. 50? I mean, there's so many languages that sometimes some of them you only use for a short while. And, how many computers I have? My goodness, there has to be at least 50 computers around me here, at least. So, I mean, I have a dozen Raspberry Pis alone. Those Reddit bots trying to sway opinion, but they're just individuals there. So I must say, very much enjoying the content. Just stumbled across this channel. So yeah, when you actually know that, my videos are usually very deep, and they usually are based on things that I actually know about. I don't really do a lot of guessing. Okay, so but Reddit is, people there are very mean, and they say mean comments about somebody like me that they don't know what I'm talking about. They don't even watch the video. So from the title they assume that I'm gonna that's all negative about purism, which it's not. I'm just setting the proper expectations. Can you remember some of the most niche languages you programmed in? Yes, the ones I've made. I made my own languages. So yes, I made my own programming languages, and they're being used right now by other people. And I made some interpretive languages, and I don't want to say the name because it'll reveal the company. So, but yes, I made a lot of money. So this is wow, the broadcast got interrupted there. Sorry. Okay, so I wonder how long was that pause? A couple seconds? Okay, so this is one of the products I make with a Raspberry Pi. Okay, so this is another product I make. It's an alarm. This is a radar alarm. Let's see. I have a security camera in here somewhere. I got, many products. 5 seconds. Okay. Yeah, the internet went down for 5 seconds. And then it recovered. 12 seconds. Okay. So, yeah, so I was talking, and then I was watching OBS and it turned red. It gave me like a red warning, and it's like, oh, I was not sending. So it seemed like only like a few seconds here. Like 5 seconds here, yeah, something like that. So the ones, yes, the ones I've made. Yes, the ones I've made. Oh, you mean languages? Yes. So yeah, I even tried to clone. There was a programming language that I tried to clone. It was bought by Symantec. It was like a database language, kind of like DBase, but not quite. It was different. But so what I did was try to port. It was running on Windows, or no, sorry, it was running on DOS. And I said, I want to port this to Unix. So I actually tried to clone it. I got pretty far into cloning the database language in C, and I was doing it to run on Unix. And then later on, I decided I was going to just change the programming language completely. And so that's one of the things I did over the years. That language was bought by Symantec, Symantec bought it, and then they killed it. So it was not long at all. So anyway, it dropped around you answering a coding question. Oh, okay. Yes, Saeed, this one is a microwave alarm. And this one sells for $129, and basically it's kind of like it talks to you like an Amazon Echo, and all you do is press the button and the alarm sets. It's called Bracks SecureNet, and there's a lot of electronics in there. You can see. So yeah, so that's one of the things we build here. Symantec for the win. Bad company. Okay, so anyway, before I go, I forgot. So I'm gonna say this before you all leave. I have a supplier of this completely nothing to do with tech, but I have a supplier of CBD products. CBD. So let me show you what I have here that has to do with CBD. So CBD is, for those of you who don't know, is a anti-inflammatory that does not, it's 3D printed, yes. Anti-inflammatory that does not have any side effects. So a lot of people with, pains and so on want to use it because it doesn't have any effect, for example, on your stomach and digestion and so on. So this one is a balm. This is a CBD balm. The company is California. So it's made from hemp extract CBD, all legal, of course. So that's one. I think this one is like around $50. This one is a tincture, and you basically you just use drops. It comes in 1,500 milligrams in a 750 milligram version. I think it's like 34 and 24, so 25 and 35. And you cannot smoke it now. These are capsules, CBD capsules. This comes in 750 milligrams and 1,500 milligrams. So this is in capsules. So I'm going to put this in my store. So some of you, don't know where to get these, and I just happen to have a supplier of it, so I'm just going to put it in my store. And in case anyone is interested in CBD, okay. It's not in my store yet in Tiremeyer, but I'll put it on there. And I don't have a large supply of this first batch. Does that stuff make test positive on urine test? The THC is practically nothing, so I don't know. You may have to take a lot of it before it shows up. Does it cure or treat? It's an anti-inflammatory. Some people have other, claim results with it, and I don't know about those other claims, but the reality is that it's really pretty effective for inflammation. So I had some inflammation. I have pains in my feet and so on, and I have some bad stuff from surgeries and things, and so I've taken it, and there's no effect. You don't feel anything, and it doesn't have any noticeable effect when you take it. So I don't know if I can ship to Canada. So, and I can't ship to every state. I got to check the list of states. There's some states you can't. There's 2 or 3 states you can't ship to. So if you belong to that state, then don't buy it. You should know your own state law. So if you're in a state that doesn't allow CBD, then don't buy it. I take it before bed to prevent back pain. Should say, will you ship to? How much was it? Which one? My knee is kind of zunkered. Does it have a buttery taste like hemp? It doesn't have any taste whatsoever. Are we going to spend a day together? When are we going to spend it? What are you going to do, Huge Dubai? Take my CBD? Are we going to meet at the, what's the name of the market, Huge Dubai? Are we going to meet at that market? Can't even remember the market. So are we going to, I don't even think it's the same name anymore. But is that where we're going to meet at the market? So, anyway, so this is going to be in the store. So I'll put this on there, and I have a small supply right now, and then we'll see if it's worth adding to my store list. So as you can imagine, we have to make money for the channel, so we can do this. Okay. Communist state of Minnesota. I'm probably in the state it's banned. Which city do you live in? I'm in Los Angeles. How much was either one of the CBD? This one is this balm is $50. Gotta check the list here. I know this one is like 35, the other one's 25. Depends on the size, I think. And then one of these is hold on. I'm gonna put it in the store, but depends on how many milligrams of CBD are in it. So this one appears to be the most expensive one. The balm. Don't ask me why, because I don't make this, so I'm just telling you what I get it for. So let me just check the list here. Yeah, so the capsules are, oh, these are expensive. Okay. There's the capsules are 50 or 90, depending on, this is 750 milligrams, so that's, I think that's 50. And then the one that's total of 1500 milligrams, I believe that's 90. So anyway, that's that. Wow, that bomb sacrificed a lot of weed to make. They use hemp, Mel Gibson, no THC or minimal THC, hemp. So they're all legal. All legal. Well, weed is legal in California, but they're I believe these are made. I don't know if these are made in California or Washington. I'm not sure. I'm trying to look for a label here that says where it's made. It's too small. It's small print, so I can't tell you. Any books to recommend? How it's random, but I do wonder. I read everything. Okay, so anyway, just to give you that, because I never get to mention that on the video. So I'm gonna put that in my store for all these products are on rob.bracks.me. Okay, so if you go to Bracks.me, you click on my. Let's say you go to Bracks.me already. You're already in Bracks.me. Just click on my photo. Everywhere you see me, just click on my photo and then you go to my store. It is not the store for the app. It's my own personal store. Okay? Weed ought to be legal everywhere for any use, but that's a political opinion. My cousin has a farm in Washington, but not in Minnesota apparently. I'm serious. What is 6M to 5 hour? What? When a 6M to 8 hour session? Yeah, talk to me, Huge to Bite. Whatever you say. Talk to me. I'm easy to reach. You go to Bracks.me and you can talk to me any day. So I don't talk to Bracks.me. It's open source. Huge to Bite. Bracks.me is open source. Go read the source code. Well, I don't go to that because it's not Telegram. Well, it's open source. Okay, so there you go. For someone learning programming on DSP, do you recommend VHDL or I don't know what those are. What the fuck is VHDL or Verilog? I don't understand what that is. What is that? I've never heard of it. It's crazy, a country fully legalized, but just a few states down there must be frustrating. It's legal in Canada, but I don't smoke. I don't smoke either. Okay, guys, I'm going to get back to work. I have a lot of work to do. And fortunately, the video that I made at least became popular. So it was very productive. It's very hard to, because I got a lot of work to do. I'm trying to come up with changes to this. So very time consuming. So more laws are 20th century creation for lawyers. I'm probably going to go now. Have a nice night. Languages for FGPA programming? Zuck. I don't know, man. That kind of depends on the chip, isn't it? I have one. I have a board that has FPGA, but I don't have to do the programming on the FPGA side. Okay, thank you, Mr. Jones, and thank you for subscribing. And what time do your show start? I usually start at 8. We've been going for 3 hours here. My show starts at 8 p.m. on Friday nights. And then if I have time, I'll do Saturday as well. Okay? But I'm not during the holidays. After the holidays, we'll see what happens. Okay, but right now I'm doing it only during the holidays. I'm only doing it on Friday. So done, over. It's always over. Either way, huge byte, we can make money. So I hope you cashed out on the Bitcoin. FPGA is the future. It's quantum. FPGA is called a binary blob, Mel Gibson. Binary blob. I'm not doing Saturday right now. So next Friday. I'm not doing Saturday tomorrow because it's during the holidays. Too busy right now. Okay? So keep watching my videos. There's a lot of videos. A lot of videos to watch. So take care, guys. See you next time. And again, rob.bracks.me for my products, especially the Bracks Wi-Fi, which can now accept wired VPN. So this can be your router for the entire house. Just pump gigabit traffic through here and send gigabit traffic to the VPN. Okay? Good night, my friends. See you later.